Well, hello again. And today I would like to talk a little bit about something I've gone through recently. And part of my training as a peer support worker was with the Ontario Peer Development Institute. And to get my level 2 um, certificate of training with them, I had to do what turned out to be a 5-month internship, which was really interesting. But it was where they housed alcoholics. And these were people who, if they weren't there in this house, and it's usually about 10 or 12 men and a few women, if they weren't there being taken care of by the government, they would probably be dead or on the street drinking turpentine. So the government housed them, gave them a room, fed them, and and in this particular case, what they would do is they would come around every hour and give them a pour, which was could have been 5 or 8 ounces of wine. Everyone was there was a nurse there all the time, and each one was treated individually. So that they were never really got drunk, but at the same time they weren't triggered. So, and I think there was about 6 houses throughout the city of Toronto, and this was kind of a program they were using to help these people. And I was brought in as a peer support worker to befriend these people, and which was really an interesting journey. And it kind of had been a long time before that when I stopped drinking, and I had many, many fond memories of AA. That was like 30 years ago when I stopped drinking, and one of the memories I have, and that's that at every AA meeting they used to post these slogans, and they were all like meaningful slogans that would be reminders for people who were, on the road to recovery, and things like one day at a time, which is an important principle, not only for alcoholics, but for all of us. But, or something like easy does it, because, we can be so emotional and so triggered. But what the one that really stood out for me was the slogan, but for the grace of God. And that would always touch me deeply. And I remember some of the speakers would talk about that one. And it was always, to me, very moving and emotional when they would speak about that particular one. But for the grace of God. So, anyway, here I am at this house up in Islington. And these people became my friends. I went for 5 months, like one day a week for 5 months, and I got to know these people. And I saw these people die. I saw 2 or 3 of people who had become my friends die while I was doing my internship. But they told me stories, beautiful stories of being in jail, what it was like, of living on a crate across on a grate across from St. Mike's on a piece of cardboard with their wife and what life was like. And they had written songs, and they told me the words to those songs, and I would write them down because they were beautiful songs. And I got to know these people really well. And when I first went to this house, I kind of just assumed that everybody was older than me because, I mean, they looked like it. I mean, guys walking across the floor, and wearing a diaper and his pants are falling down, and people who couldn't go down the stairs because, they were that bad off. And they looked gruff in a lot of cases. And, but I found that they were all a lot younger than me. But anyway, it was a beautiful experience. And I learned so much from these people. And they opened up and they told me their stories. They told me stories kind of like almost in whispered tunes of the abuse that they suffered as kids growing up, in reform schools, and it was very, very touching. Um, so but anyway, one day I was sitting there in kind of like they had this big living room, um, and I was sitting there and I was just kind of watching, people move around. And I just wondered. I said, why me? Why me? Because I kind of figured, I should be ahead of these guys. I mean, I should be dead. Like really, by rights, I should be dead. And here I am. I'm healthy. I'm not addicted anymore. And I've never been happier than I am now. And I'm watching these people you move around the room, walk across the floor, pants falling down. And I just asked the question, why me? Why me? And so I thought of one of my mentors, Phil Oakes, who has been a great inspiration to me. And he wrote a piece that has been one of my favorite pieces. And I've said those words probably thousands, tens of thousands of times because they're just so meaningful to me. So at that moment, I thought of Phil Oakes's words, and he wrote this piece. He said, "Show me a prison. Show me a jail. Show me a prison man whose face is growing pale, and I'll show you a young man with so many reasons why. And there, but for fortune, will go you or I. Show me an alley. Show me a train. Show me a hobo who sleeps out in the rain, and I'll show you a young man with so many reasons why. And there, but for fortune, will go you or I. Show me the whiskey, stains on the floor. Show me a drunken man as he stumbles out the door, and I'll show you a young man with so many reasons why. And there, but for fortune, will go you or I." And I thought of those words. And I looked around and I just realized there's only one answer. Why me? There's only one answer, just one answer. And there, but for the grace of God, or there but for fortune, will go you or go I. And that was a moment for me. And that was a great experience working at the house with those people. I'll never forget it. Never. But my mentor, Phil Oakes, he too was an alcoholic. And he too suffered greatly from depression. And despite his enormous talent, he hung himself with his own belt when he was only 37 years old. But his words live on to inspire people like me and people like you to want to be there for the other guy. But not only that, and most importantly, I think of all, to remind me beyond any shadow of a doubt that I must always remain vigilant. And I must always be thankful. And I know beyond any shadow of any doubt that there, but for the grace of God, or there, but for fortune, will go you or go I.